If you would like to follow along with today's lesson, click on the link in the description for the free tab. Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back with a new lesson today, finger picking for beginners. If you've ever tried to finger pick before, this is a great place to start. We're going to start with some easy, simple open chords. As you can see below here, we're going to start with D, then to A, and then C, and then G. We're going to be using 4 fingers on our right hand. We're going to be using our thumb, our first finger, our second finger, and our third finger. We're going to leave our pinky out for now. Well, let's jump right into it. So we're going to start with a D major chord. So our left hand, our first finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the G string. Our third finger is going to be on the 3rd fret of the B string. And our second finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the high E string. And we're going to be hitting 4 strings in total. Now, as you can see in the tab below, we're going to be hitting, we're not going to be hitting all of the notes of the chord. We're going to be hitting 2 to start with. And we're going to be starting with our thumb on the lowest note on that open D. And we're going to use our 3rd finger, which is our ring finger, on that high E string that's pushing down on the 2nd fret here. So we're going to use our 3rd finger here and our thumb at the same time to hit both of those notes at the same time. So quite simple, we just want to get used to hitting these 2 notes at the same time. Now, our thumb is going to be down picking and pulling away at the same time, and our ring finger is going to be picking upwards and pulling out at the same time. So we don't want to try and push down with our finger. It's very awkward to do that. We really want to make sure that when we're using these 3 fingers that we're pulling up and away from the strings. So again, we're going to start with our thumb on the D string and our ring finger on the high E string, and we're going to pluck them together. Then we're going to take our 2nd finger, our middle finger, and pluck the B string, which is pressing down on the 3rd fret over here. And we're going to hit that individually. And then we're going to use our first finger on the G string, and we're going to pull that, and that's being pressed on the 2nd fret here. So we've got 4 hits individual that we're going to focus on. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So that last one, we're going to use our middle finger here again and hit that B string. So let's try that twice, slow. Nice. Now we really want to make sure that our fingers on our our left hand are to the rightmost part of the fret, and that we're using the very tips of our fingers, because we want each note to ring out nice and clear. If not, we could get something that sounds a little bit muted for some of the strings. We really want to make sure we're using the very tips of our finger, staying to the rightmost part of the fret when we're hitting these, so they're nice, clear, and ringing out. Now, ideally, we would like to try this along with a metronome, but for now, we're just going to go together here again. We got... and on to our next chord. Now, our right hand is actually going to keep the exact same pattern that we did, using our thumb and our 3rd finger to start, plucking 2 notes at the same time, and then our middle finger, first finger, middle finger again. So thumb and 3rd finger, middle finger, first finger, middle finger. The only thing that's going to change this time, because we're doing an A major chord instead of a D major chord, this chord demands that we hit 5 strings. So our thumb is going to be on the A string now instead of the D string. But our first finger, 2nd finger, and 3rd finger are all going to stay on the same strings. So the G string, the B string, and the E string. So we're going to do the exact same pattern again. As you can see in the tab here, it's just actually both open strings. So technically, you don't even really have to have your hand on the guitar to practice this part. We're using our thumb to pull on the A string and our ring finger to pull on the high E string. Okay, so as we hold our A major chord here, I like to use these 3 fingers instead of these 3. It's really up to you. Some people bar it. I like to use these 3 fingers. So we're going to do our thumb and our 3rd finger at the same time. Use our 2nd finger to pluck the B string, 1st finger to pluck the G string, and then our 3rd finger again to pluck the B string. So let's try that twice in a row. Onto our third chord, G now. I like to do G with the extra D in there. So we've got 2 fingers here. So our third finger will be on the 2nd fret of the B string, and then our pinky will be on the 3rd fret of the high E string, along with these other 2, to form that G with that extra D in there. So now, we're going to do the exact same pattern, but instead of our thumb being on the A string this time, our thumb is going to be on the low E string. So again, these 3 fingers are going to stay on the same string. Our first finger is on the G, our second finger is on the B, and our third finger is on the E. So those ones are never changing for this whole pattern. So let's try again from the beginning. We're going to hit the low E string and our third finger at the same time. So we're going to be hitting both the E strings at the same time, pressing down on the 3rd fret. We really want to focus on making sure that both the notes sound at the same time. We don't want to have one come out sooner than the other. Like, you can do that eventually, but right now in this pattern, that's just really what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're hitting both at the exact same time. So let's continue on with the pattern like usual. Our second finger then is going to hit the B string. Our first finger is going to hit the G string. And then our second finger is going to hit that B string again. So those 4 hits again. Both thumb and third finger. Second finger. First finger. Second finger. So let's do that twice in a row here, like in the tab below. Okay, and now the last chord, we're going to be working on C major. So nothing crazy about this chord. For beginners, it is a little bit of a stretch, but we really do want to make sure that we're keeping our fingers to the rightmost part of the fret, and that we're using the very tips of our fingers, reaching around a nice curl on your hand so that the bottom of the finger isn't hitting the string underneath of it. This one's really crucial to make sure that those notes ring out nice and clear. So again, we're going to do the exact same pattern. Just like the A, this is a 5-string chord. So our thumb is going to go back to that A string. First finger is going to stay on the G string. Second finger is going to stay on that B string. And your third finger is going to stay on that high E string. So again, we're going to hit the thumb and the third finger at the same time, just to get used to that a couple times on that configuration. Then our second finger is going to hit that B string. First finger hits the G string, and then second finger hits the B string again. So let's try it twice here. Awesome, so there's pattern 1 for you, nice and simple, just using 4 fingers on the top 4 strings, changing where your thumb goes for each of the chords, depending on whether it's a 4-string chord, 5-string chord, or 6-string chord. Now we're going to continue on with pattern 2, and as you can see, we're going to actually use the exact same chords again. All right, so looking at the tab below here, nothing much has changed except for the first hit of every set of 4. Now this time what we're going to do is we're going to pull all of our fingers at the same time and hit the entire chord, and then continue with our second finger, first finger, second finger. So instead of just hitting with our thumb and our third finger, we're going to include our first finger and our second finger in the first pull. So this is great practice on its own because we really, again, want to make sure that our strings are ringing out nice and clear and you can hear each note perfectly. Okay, so now that we practiced that a little bit, let's try the pattern. So we want to pluck all 4 of them, then use our second finger on the B string, first finger on the G string, then second finger again on the B string. And let's do that twice in a row. Awesome, right on. Okay, on to our second chord. We're going to be doing A major again. Now again, I like to do it with these set of 3 fingers. Most will like to do it with that when they start out, or you can bar it, collapsing your finger here. I don't really like to do that. I prefer not to collapse my fingers, honestly. So I like to do it like this, just because if I end up going up to a bar chord or something. So let's try the same thing again. Now this time again, just like the last lesson, whenever we go to an A, this is a 5-string chord now, our thumb is going to go to the A string instead of the D string. And again, our first finger, second finger, third finger are all going to stay where they are, G, B, and E. So let's try the first hit now. We want all 4 of our fingers pulling at the same time. Excellent. Okay, so let's continue with the rest of the pattern. So we got our first hit, second finger, first finger, second finger. All 4 again. Second finger on the B string, first finger on the G string, second finger again on the B string. All right, third chord. This time it's C. Actually, in the last lesson, I messed up and did G first and then C. I meant to do C and then G, but I'm only human. We'll continue on from here. So let's go from C. Remember, keep our left hand to the rightmost part of each of the frets. We want to keep our fingers and make sure that we're using the very tips of them. So again, just like last, we want to make sure we're doing a 5-string chord, just like the last A. Our thumb is going to stay on that A string, first finger on the G string, second finger on the B, third finger on the high E. And we're going to hit all 3 at the same time. Now this one is particularly picky at the beginning for starting players, just because the string underneath of this third finger tends to get muted just because our fingers aren't really used to pressing down on the frets correctly yet. We really want to make sure you get that nice curl around so that you can hear all the notes clearly. Okay, so let's go through the whole pattern now. So we've got all 4, second finger, first finger, second finger, again, all 4, second finger, first finger, second finger. And the final chord we've got here, G major. So again, I like to do this G with this extra D here, so our third finger is on the 2nd fret of the B string. So G is a 6-string chord, so we want to move our thumb to the low E string to accentuate that bass note. And again, our first finger, second finger, and third finger are staying on the same strings, the G, the B, and the E. So let's go through the pattern, hitting all 4 first. Just get used to that. Make sure that each note is ringing out nice and clear and that you can hear each one. And then we want to move on to the pattern. So we've got all 4, second finger, first finger, second finger, all 4, second finger, first finger, second finger. And on to the third pattern. This time we're going to use A, C, G, and E major. So starting with A major, now this pattern, what we do is we're going to use all 4 of our fingers, so that little pinky is going to come into play. So this is the next step of getting used to your finger picking. Bringing in these 2 fingers, your pinky and your third finger, are quite difficult when you start out, because naturally your first and second finger are a little more dexterous and have a little bit more stamina than the other 2 when they start out. But we really want to make sure that we get them into our practice regimen so that they strengthen up and can kind of catch up to these 2. So when we're holding an A major chord, our thumb is going to be on the A string. Our first finger now is going to be on the D string. Our second finger is on the G string. Our third finger is on the B string, and our pinky is going to be on that high E string. So what we want to do is we want to hit each note individually, one at a time, from bottom to top, and then back down. So it's going to sound like this. We've got our thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, pinky, and then we're going to come back down with our third finger, second finger, and then first finger. So again, thumb, first, second, third, fourth, third, second, first. So again, we'll go over it one more time. We're holding an A major chord here on our left hand, or right-handed if you're right-handed. And then on our picking hand, we're gonna hit all 5 strings of the chord one at a time and let them ring out. So we've got our thumb on the A string, first finger on the D string, second finger on the G string, third finger on the B, and your pinky on the high E, and then come back down with your third finger, and then second finger. So one more time, going through it twice now. Okay, second chord in this final pattern, we're going to do C major again. Remember, keep your fingers to the rightmost part of the fret and make sure you're curling around nice so that the bottom of the fingers, the flesh doesn't hit the string underneath of it to mute it. We really want to make sure that each note's ringing out nice and clear. So again, this is a 5-string chord, just like A major. We're going to start with our thumb on the A string, first finger on the D string, third finger on the G string, third finger on the B string, and your pinky on the high E. So we're going to start with our thumb, first, second, third, fourth, third, second, first. One more time. Moving on to our third chord here, G major. Now, since this is a 6-string chord, we don't have 6 fingers on our right hand, so we can't hit all of them. So what we're going to do is, instead of having our thumb on the A string like we did for the C and the A major, we're going to switch to the low E string and just not worry about that A string at all. So our 4 fingers are going to stay on the strings that they were previous. Our thumb is just going to switch to be on the low E string. So we've got thumb, and we're playing a G major with the D on our left hand. So we've got our thumb is 1, first finger, second finger, third finger, pinky, third finger, second finger, first finger. And again. And you notice at the beginning what I'm doing is I'm resting all my fingers on the strings rather than leaving them elevated and having to come in on them. I'm leaving them on as I pluck that first little bit, and then I bring them in the last 2. So we just want to get used to that with as many chords as we can, obviously. But for now, we're just starting with these 4 just to get started. And our final chord, E major, a new one to the batch. We're going to be playing E major like this. Again, you could use other fingers if you like, but I prefer to use these when we're down here. And just like the G major, this is a 6-string chord, so our thumb is going to remain on that low E string, and we're not going to worry about hitting the A string at all. So we've got our thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, pinky, third finger, second finger, first finger. And again. All right, there you have it, guys. 3 finger picking patterns for beginners. If you'd like to tab, it's in the link below. If you'd like to give me some advice on video stuff, or if you have some ideas for future lessons, throw me a comment below. If you like the lesson, throw me the like, subscribe if you're looking forward to more content, and I'll see you guys on the flip side.